Kaneki Ken was an ordinary college student, living in a city that felt alive even in the quietest hours. He loved books, quiet corners, and the faint rustle of leaves against the pavement. His life was simple, slow, and comfortable, the kind of life you almost forget is precious until it changes forever. One evening, he met Rizii, a woman whose presence seemed to pull the air closer, heavier, as if the world paused when she walked. She loved the same books he did, smiled at the same passages, and Kaneki felt a connection that was unexpected, sudden, and delicate. He did not know that this encounter would unravel the life he had carefully built. A terrible accident struck. Kaneki was hurt in a way that should have ended him, but he woke in a hospital, alive and altered. The doctors had transplanted Rizii's organs into him. He awoke not as himself, but as something different, something in between. He was both human and ghoul. At first, he felt fear. A gnawing, hollow fear that he could no longer belong in the world he had loved. Hunger was different now. It was not for comfort or food, but for something raw, something necessary to survive. He avoided mirrors, avoided people, avoided the reflection of what he had become. Kaneki struggled to reconcile his two halves. Human tenderness clashed with the instincts of the ghoul within. Each step outside his room reminded him that the world had not changed, only his perception of it. Every familiar street now held danger. Every quiet cafe held the echo of something he could never return from. Yet, in this struggle, he met others like him. Ghoul and human alike, each carrying their own burdens, each navigating the space between hunger and humanity. From them, Kaneki learned survival, patience, and the weight of choices. Even when choices seemed impossible, even when every road seemed closed, life continued, quietly, inexorably, like the rain tapping on a window late at night. Kaneki's life had shifted into a rhythm he could barely recognize. The city hummed around him, alive with movement, yet he moved slower, carefully, as if each step could betray him. Every meal, every interaction, was now a negotiation with the hunger that gnawed inside, a hunger that was not simply appetite, but survival itself. He remembered Rizii, the woman who had unknowingly changed his fate. Her smile, her words, the quiet way she existed in the world, these memories lingered, soft and haunting, reminding him that even within transformation, fragments of the past remain. And he carried them with him, hidden in the folds of his consciousness, guiding and warning him. Kaneki met others, some gentle, some harsh. Tuka, a quiet but fierce presence, taught him strength in subtlety. She showed him that you could survive not by domination, but by understanding the rhythm of the world around you. Yoshimura, older and calm, offered patience, a way to move without losing oneself completely. Each encounter added a layer, a new awareness of what it meant to be in between, neither fully human nor fully ghoul, but something more complex. And yet, despite these lessons, he often felt alone. Even among others like him, the duality inside him could not be shared completely. The hunger, the fear, the fragile thread of morality, these were his alone. And so he walked, silently, through streets glistening with rain, under neon lights, carrying the weight of existence without complaint, without expectation. He began to notice small things. The way the rain traced patterns on the pavement, the rhythm of footsteps in empty corridors, the quiet sigh of the wind against buildings. These moments became anchors, reminders that life, even altered and strange, was still perceptible, still tangible. Even in solitude, there was a rhythm, a subtle continuity, a thread that connected him to the city, to others, to himself. Each day, Kaneki learned a little more about balance. Not control, not mastery, balance. Understanding that every action, every pause, every small breath mattered, even when the world seemed indifferent. And in this quiet reflection, he found a form of peace, not the kind that erased fear, but the kind that allowed it to exist without consuming him. Time passed slowly for Kaneki, each day a repetition, yet subtly different. He wandered through the city, observing its patterns, the flicker of neon signs, The quiet hum of late-night traffic, the way shadows shifted over familiar streets. Even in the chaos of a city that never truly slept, he discovered spaces of stillness, pockets where the world softened, and he could breathe. Hunger still lingered, gnawing and persistent, but it had begun to blend with understanding. Kaneki realized that his duality was not a curse to be endured, but a state to be acknowledged. Human and ghoul, past and present, fear and courage, they coexisted inside him. Acceptance did not erase struggle, but it tempered the sharp edges of every choice. He remembered the first moments after the transplant, the panic, the confusion, the stark isolation of being neither here nor there. Now, that isolation became a teacher. It showed him patience, subtlety, and the quiet strength in observation. He could see the motions of others, the flickers of intention, without judgment or haste. The city became a mirror, reflecting not only danger but beauty, not only loneliness but connection. Interactions with others taught him small, precise lessons. Tuka's silent guidance revealed the power of restraint. Yoshimura's calm presence illuminated the weight of choice and responsibility. Even fleeting encounters, moments of recognition or conflict, carried meaning, like the gentle ripple of water spreading from a single drop. Kaneki often thought of Rizii, her presence a memory more than a person now. It reminded him that life is composed of encounters, brief and profound, each shaping the contours of our consciousness. Even absent, her influence lingered, an invisible guide in moments of doubt. At night, he would watch the city from rooftops or empty streets, listening to the patter of rain, the distant hum of neon. He no longer feared solitude, he welcomed it. In the silence, he traced the patterns of his thoughts, the ebb and flow of his instincts, the quiet pulse of his heartbeat. There, amidst the emptiness and subtle sounds of the world, Kaneki began to understand the simplest truth. The journey is not about escaping oneself, but noticing the paths one already walks, even when the roads seem endless. As Kaneki moved deeper into the world of ghouls, he realized that survival was less about strength and more about understanding. Each encounter, each challenge, taught him that the line between predator and prey was thin, shifting, often invisible. He observed the city's rhythm, learning to move with it rather than against it, letting subtle patterns guide his steps. His interactions with others became lessons in restraint. Tuka's presence was a quiet reminder that patience could be stronger than force. Yoshimura's wisdom showed him that morality was not absolute, but flexible, a tool for navigating an imperfect world. Even fleeting encounters carried weight. Small gestures, brief glances, a shared silence. These became threads weaving Kaneki into a larger tapestry, one where human and ghoul could exist in uneasy, delicate balance. The hunger inside him remained, a constant reminder that he was changed. Yet, over time, it became less a source of fear and more a signal, a rhythm to observe, a pulse to follow. He learned to anticipate its demands, to honor them without letting them dominate. This quiet negotiation between instinct and thought shaped his days, creating a subtle, meditative flow that grounded him even in the most unpredictable moments. Kaneki often wandered alone, through quiet streets or deserted alleyways, reflecting on the fragility of existence. Life, he realized, was composed of fleeting moments, glimpses of connection, brief flashes of understanding, the soft patter of rain against a window. Each moment, no matter how small, carried meaning when observed fully, when noticed rather than rushed past. Rizii lingered in memory, a faint echo of what had been and what had shaped him. He understood now that people leave traces, not only in life, but in consciousness. Even absence has form, influence, and direction. In the quiet, Kaneki traced these echoes, letting them guide his perception without demanding action, without urgency. At night, the city became a reflective space. Neon lights shimmered on wet pavement, wind whispered through empty streets, and Kaneki moved slowly, deliberately. Each step was a meditation, a recognition that the journey was not about escaping fear or hunger, but noticing the spaces between. In these pauses, he found something resembling peace, a calm tether amidst the uncertainty of existence, a reminder that even when roads twist endlessly, each step carries its own quiet significance. Kaneki began to notice the weight of identity, how fragile it could be, how easily it shifted with circumstance. Being neither fully human nor fully ghoul had forced him to confront the essence of who he was. The hunger, the fear, the desire for connection, they were all pieces of the same puzzle, pieces that did not always fit neatly, yet created a whole he could live within. He reflected on the choices he had made, the moments of weakness, the instances of courage. Each left a mark subtle, almost invisible, yet undeniable. Life, he realized, was not a series of grand gestures or heroic feats, but the quiet accumulation of small decisions, the tiny shifts in thought and action that shaped the contours of existence. Encounters with others continued to shape him. Tuka's quiet strength reminded him that patience and observation could hold as much power as force. Yoshimura's calm demeanor showed him the importance of perspective, that even in chaos there is order if one looks closely enough. Through these interactions, Kaneki began to see a pattern, a rhythm underlying the apparent randomness of the world, a rhythm he could follow, not to control it, but to exist within it. Rizii remained a memory, her influence a gentle current beneath the surface of his thoughts. He no longer felt fear when recalling her, only an acknowledgement of change, of transformation, and of the inevitability of consequences. The past was present in quiet ways, guiding without dictating, shaping without overwhelming. Night after night, Kaneki walked streets glistening with rain, under the soft hum of city lights, listening to the whispers of wind and water. He learned to be present in these moments, to notice the subtleties of life that often go unseen. In solitude, he discovered reflection. In observation, he found clarity. The city, the rain, the neon, they became companions, reminders that even when the roads seem endless, each step is meaningful, each pause has value, and every moment carries the potential for understanding and quiet peace. As Kaneki continued to navigate the city, he faced subtle challenges that tested not only his survival, but his sense of self. Every alley, every quiet street, carried the potential for confrontation or understanding. He learned that strength alone was not enough. Patience, observation, and restraint became his tools. The hunger inside him still pulsed, but he had begun to treat it as a signal, a rhythm to follow rather than a command to obey. He reflected on encounters with others, the fleeting moments that left impressions deeper than any battle. The kindness of some, the indifference of others, the quiet recognition in a glance, these became guides, teaching him that life is shaped as much by subtle interactions as by grand events. Each choice, each hesitation carried weight. Even in inaction, there was learning. Kaneki spent long nights watching the city breathe. Rain streaked down windows, neon signs glimmered softly, and footsteps echoed against empty streets. In these moments, he noticed the patterns of life, the repetition of routines, the silent agreements between strangers, the rhythm of existence itself. He felt connected, yet separate, a spectator and a participant, observing without judgment, moving without rush. Rizii's presence remained in memory, not as a source of fear or longing, but as a quiet reminder that life's changes are inevitable and that transformation can carry both loss and insight. Kaneki understood now that survival was not merely physical, it was emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. To endure, one had to accept the duality within, the contradictions that defined him. As the night deepened, he found a strange comfort in solitude. The city, the rain, the soft hum of distant lights, all became companions in reflection. He understood that the journey was not about escaping difficulty or erasing hunger, but noticing it, observing it, and allowing life to unfold gently around him. In this quiet, measured awareness, Kaneki found a rhythm that was neither frantic nor desperate, a subtle balance between presence and reflection, and a sense of calm that lingered long after footsteps faded into the night. Kaneki began to confront the weight of mortality, not as a fear, but as a quiet presence in every moment. Life was fragile, fleeting, and yet insistently persistent. Each step, each breath, carried significance even when unnoticed. The hunger inside him reminded him of his dual nature, but it no longer controlled him entirely. It was simply part of the rhythm of existence. He reflected on the fleeting connections he had made. Tuka's calm guidance, Yoshimura's patience, even Rizii's lingering memory, all these fragments shaped his understanding of life. They reminded him that influence often comes in small, subtle ways, and that even brief encounters can leave lasting impressions. There was a rhythm to these interactions, a cadence he began to recognize and anticipate, a gentle flow that guided his perception of the world. Kaniki's nights were spent in observation. The city glimmered under rain, lights blurred by moisture on streets, the quiet hum of distant movement echoing softly. He wandered through alleyways and empty plazas, feeling both connected to the life around him and apart from it. The solitude was not loneliness, it was a space for reflection, for noticing the nuances of existence that are usually overlooked. Internal balance became a focus. Human thought and ghoul instinct coexisted, no longer in conflict, but in a fragile equilibrium. He recognized the tension between them, yet allowed it to exist without resistance. It was in this quiet acceptance that Kaneki discovered a new form of awareness, a subtle mindfulness of self and environment, where fear and curiosity, hunger and reflection, all found their place. Even the small details of life became meaningful. The ripple of water in a puddle, the flicker of neon on wet pavement, the whisper of wind along a deserted street. These details grounded him, offering continuity amidst change. Kaneki learned that to observe without expectation, to walk without striving, was not weakness, but a form of understanding. In this gentle attention, he found something resembling peace, a calm tether to existence that persisted even when the road seemed endless, even when life felt uncertain. Kaneki began to understand that life was composed of layers, each influencing the other, often in ways that were invisible until carefully observed. His dual nature, once a source of panic and confusion, had become a lens through which he saw the world more clearly. Human and ghoul instincts coexisted, creating a rhythm he could follow, a quiet cadence that guided his actions without forcing them. He thought often of the city at night, its neon glow softened by rain, its empty streets echoing with distant sounds. Each night was different, yet familiar, a constant backdrop against which his thoughts could drift. He noticed subtle patterns, the way light refracted on puddles, the gentle sway of trees in wind, the quiet rhythm of footsteps on wet pavement. These small details grounded him, reminding him that even in change and uncertainty, continuity exists. Interactions with others continued to shape him in silent, subtle ways. Tuka's steadfastness, Yoshimura's calm, the echoes of Rizii's presence, they all guided him without intrusion, like currents beneath the surface of a river. He understood that connection does not always require words, that influence can be quiet, persistent, and gentle. Kaneki also reflected on solitude. He no longer saw it as emptiness or punishment, but as a space for awareness and reflection. In quiet observation, he could perceive the flow of life itself, the constant interplay of hunger and desire, action and hesitation, fear and curiosity. Life moved forward, whether he acted or merely watched, and in that understanding he found acceptance. The night deepened, and the city seemed to breathe with him. Raindrops fell softly, blending with distant, faint echoes of movement. He walked slowly, deliberately, tracing the rhythm of the streets, the spaces between lights, the silent patterns of existence. In these moments, Kaneki realized that the journey is not about escaping difficulty, nor achieving mastery, nor conquering fear. It is about noticing, observing, and moving gently with the world. Every step, every pause, every quiet breath carries meaning, and even when the roads seem endless, life persists, calm, subtle, and profoundly present. Kaneki realized that life does not require grand gestures to hold meaning. Every quiet moment, every small observation, Every breath taken in awareness carries significance. The city around him, the rain falling softly, the gentle hum of distant lights, all were part of a rhythm he had learned to follow, a rhythm that neither demanded nor judged, only existed. He thought of his journey, the fear, the hunger, the loneliness, and the subtle lessons drawn from encounters with others. Tuka's calm strength, Yoshimura's patience, and even the memory of Rizzi shaped his understanding of the world. These influences, quiet and persistent, reminded him that connection is not always loud or obvious, that presence can be gentle and still profoundly real. Solitude had become a companion, not an absence. Walking through empty streets, listening to the rain, feeling the pulse of life around him, Kaneki recognized that awareness itself is a form of peace. Observation without expectation, reflection without urgency, the quiet attention to what is present, this was a practice he could carry, a way to exist without struggle, without the need to escape. Even the hunger inside him, once a source of panic, became a signal, a reminder of balance and survival. It was no longer a demand but a rhythm, a heartbeat interwoven with thought, reflection, and perception. Life unfolded in patterns, in cycles, in small, observable details that, when noticed, offered calm understanding. Kaneki walked slowly beneath the neon glow, the soft patter of rain blending with distant echoes. He understood that the roads may twist endlessly, that the journey is long and uncertain, and that challenges will persist. Yet, the moment itself, the quiet awareness of life, the subtle patterns of existence, the gentle pulse of the city is enough. In this recognition, there is a strange peace, a tether to reality, and a gentle acceptance. The world moves on, we move with it, and even in stillness, every step, every breath, every pause carries meaning, soft and enduring, like the quiet rhythm of a night that will always return.